Hi, everyone. Today we're talking about the pyramids, Piers Morgan and the pyramids. He's had Dr. Zahi Hawass on again, and Jimmy Corsetti turned up talking about how copper tooling's been debunked. That's not true, Jimmy. It may be that some people don't agree that copper tooling and chiseling were used or wasn't enough to make the pyramids, but that is a view not held by everyone. But look, it's very interesting that Piers Morgan has done this again, and it's been his most successful podcast on his Uncensored program. He did one last year, July last year, I think, and one this year in May of 2026. And Piers Morgan is now threatening to go to Egypt with Dr. Hawass leading the way, and apparently the singer Robbie Williams will be going to see the opening of some vault in particular in the Great Pyramids. However, I thought I should do a very quick podcast on this because I've written on this in my book on gold, The Glittering History and Legacy of Gold. And it wasn't just the agricultural wealth of the Nile that financed the Egyptians of the Old Kingdom 4,600 years ago to build the Great Pyramids of Giza. They had copper. They had copper, which they used as tooling. And the reason that copper tooling is so good is it's hard enough to be useful, but it's soft enough so that when it's bent out of shape, you can retool it quickly, right? Now, they didn't have iron or steel, except in the form of meteorites, right? So they found an iron, they found a dagger in Tutankhamun's tomb, which was iron with nickel and cobalt in it. So that had come from a meteorite. But the main tooling they had was stone tools and copper. And copper is very useful. We still use it in tooling today. People don't really know about it because we use steel and titanium and composites and all sorts of things. But copper is still a very useful tool. It was used in the first cutting of diamonds because you just use a copper wheel and then you whack other diamonds on there and that helps you to cut diamonds. So they were using that 100, 150, 200 years ago. But we still use copper in tooling. It's just we mainly use copper for electricity current carrying, and we use it to carry water, so piping and electricity wires, because copper forms in crystals of about 1 million atoms apiece, which is very important when you're talking about superconductors and that sort of thing. That's another discussion. But the point is, it's not just a conductor of electricity and a carrier of water in pipes. Copper is actually used in tooling. Hard to wrap your hands around how they did the pyramids, but there was a lot of them, a lot of food to fuel them, and pharaohs who wanted a nice place to rest in eternity. Still a lot of questions because they haven't found burial places, the burial place of Khufu, and they were mortuary temples. They were symbols of Egyptian power. So the pyramids had multiple rationales and uses. They had multiple reasons for being. It wasn't just a tomb, okay? So that's what creates the confusion. Also, they're built to precision. Graham Hancock and others like Jimmy Corsetti are right to raise questions. They are absolutely right to raise questions because there's so much unanswered about the pyramids that there's a lively debate. And no one has all the answers, okay? No one has all the answers. And that's where people butt heads up against each other, in that there are a lot of people who are more certain than they should be. And Henry, you can whack up a few pictures for everyone so they can have a look. It's fascinating. Keep watching Piers Morgan because he's covering this and he's bitten by the bug. He's bought into this, which is great. Piers Morgan is doing some of his best work by far at the moment over the last year or so. He's doing really well last couple of years. Yeah, the pyramids and the argument over that and the debates over it are absolutely fascinating, and they've captured people's interest and imagination. And Zahi Hawass has been on Joe Rogan as well. Joe's got an active view on that as well, as do a lot of his other guests. But for my money, copper did build the pyramids. The pyramids are made out of stone, but they were built with copper. Controversial opinion, though, it would appear, but pretty straightforward from my point of view with my experience. Anyway, tell me what you think. Thanks.